All right, and welcome to the Detroit Lions News podcast with my boy James again. He's been on the podcast a couple times, and he's going to be back routinely. We got to make this a routine, especially on game previews for sure, because you're pretty clued in on some of it, and most people aren't really privy to some of the stuff that you and me kind of find fascinating, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. And we're right in the thick of it now. Already week 3. I felt like just yesterday we did one of these like right after the draft or something, and now we're already, almost midway through September already. So it's crazy how quickly it all goes.
The Chicago game, we'll take it back to the Chicago game first because I didn't get your thoughts about it. But like when we came to the Chicago game, I was like, all right, it might be, closer than I thought they could win outright and just totally destroy them. But there's part of me that says maybe it's a closer game or whatever. And then, first couple possessions, you've seen a little bit difference between Chicago and Detroit, and then Detroit just took off. And told people after that Packers game that wasn't the real Detroit team because if you watched all 22, there's things that they did that was funky that you're like, what are they doing here? Like that doesn't make any sense. And then the communication on the offensive line was horrible. And the communication on defense was horrible, and it was horrible again. But thank God Caleb Williams can't hit the broadside of a barn. But that's beside the point. But like, I think everybody was kind of like scared because they thought, okay, with new coordinators, that there's going to be communication issues to start out with. I think everybody totally agrees that like you're not going to be all on the same page for the first couple weeks. I mean, that's just not the way it goes. Even adding new stuff to the playbook year after year after year. I mean, I was just watching a clip of Lamar Jackson saying that they added new passing plays to the playbook and they used them against Cleveland. And he goes, "I don't know that shit, bro." So so that's exactly what it goes down to. So, I mean, that was my thoughts when we came to the Chicago game and see what they did against Chicago, absolutely destroying the shit out of them, made you feel pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there was a crazy amount of panic, and I get it to a degree based off of if you're just looking at the strictly result of it. If you're like, if you just look at it and say, hey, even with a big spread in a game like that, like 6.5 in the NFL is pretty big, but you're like, hey, Chicago has a great day and somehow wins. You're 0-2 and 0-2 in the division, and everything about that historically does not translate well. So I get the panic from that standpoint. And I think a lot of people, a lot of Lions fans, myself included, were surprised at how good Green Bay performed. But
Yeah.
outside of that, I knew this team didn't just turn into a terrible team overnight. So
Right.
I was definitely thought that we would win going into that game. One thing I found kind of interesting, really one of the only things that I found interesting in the Bears game from like trying to read too much into it standpoint was I thought for sure when the Bears won the coin toss, Ben Johnson was going to receive. And when he didn't, I was like, man, like it's almost like showing like a little lack of confidence. Like here I am, like the offensive guy, like coming back to Ford Field and what is, I would have to assume like probably the biggest game on the schedule, at least in his mind. Like if he could pick one game to win, I think he would have picked that one. And then
Yeah.
they kick it to us and we just go right down the field and score. And if they would have got the ball and scored a touchdown and gone up 7-0, like there would have definitely been some more angst in the building than there was when the Bears answered just to tie it, and then we got the ball right back. So I thought that was kind of interesting that he didn't want the ball immediately. But other than that, it was a pretty dominant performance from the Lions, especially when you factor in they basically did nothing off some pretty massive turnovers. I mean, the back-to-back QB sneaks way inside their own territory. We get nothing off that. Got nothing off the interception. So, and it was still a 30-plus point game. So, a lot of things that you would have wanted to see, they rebounded with.
But you think that the arrogance of Ben Johnson, because it was total arrogance, like, oh, we're gonna let them have the ball, then we're gonna take the ball to the second half and we're gonna score. Like I felt like that was probably the worst thing that he could have done, to be honest, because when you talk about giving the team momentum like Detroit, probably not the best idea. I think he should have known that, especially coaching in Detroit as long as he has, and how much Dan Campbell would eat that up. you know,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the Bears, it'll be interesting. I mean, it certainly didn't age well. They're like through three quarters of the first game, you're thinking, okay, like this looks pretty decent. The Vikings, people didn't really know what the Vikings would be. A lot of people still, most people, I would say, I would think, still projected the Vikings to like be, a 9 to 10 win team. I would think like a lot of people are like, oh, if JJ McCarthy just is any bit decent, their roster is great. So you're sitting there through the first three quarters thinking it's going pretty good for the Bears. Then they totally implode and then get destroyed by us. And then the Vikings look horrible. So it kind of a very, and now it's like just full Bears narratives now, where it's just they're cursed. A lot of panic there. So interested to see how that gets handled because in theory, this shouldn't be like a completely god awful Bears team. I don't think Ben Johnson thought that at least going there. I tweeted that out today. Like it will like if it just pans out to where he just does horrible with the Bears and it's an implosion, it will be kind of like, wow, like this guy cashed all of that in to go to a Ryan Poles Bears team that just might be a total disaster and not be able to fix. I don't know. It's still incredibly early. I don't want to dismiss him that much. I actually I love Ben Johnson as a coach here. I think he is a great offensive mind. Can he run a team as a head coach? That's going to be the thing that's going to be yet to be determined.
I didn't think the Bears would be any good, and I thought that the Bears hiring. See, this is my predictions at the beginning. Season 6-11 for the Bears, and I had each team going 12-5. But I go back and think about picking the Vikings to go 12-5 because I don't think they're going 12-5 anytime soon. But it just goes to show you, like I thought the Vikings would be pretty good. I didn't think the Packers would be as good, but then they got Micah Parsons like right after I did that, and then you think about it like this, like the Bears. I thought I've always been along the line of saying that they hired the wrong coach for their team. They should have hired Aaron Glenn because Ben Johnson, as much as people love him and he's offensive mind, and I understand that. But when you think about it like this, that team needed a culture. They needed a culture change. And you got Jaquan Brisker on Twitter bitching about stuff. And then
Love when I saw that. They already got guys tweeting. What a cancerous, toxic organization the Bears are.
And that's exactly what my point. Like if you're being honest with yourself, who would you rather have right now, Ben Johnson or Aaron Glenn? Because I guarantee you, if Aaron Glenn's seen someone tweet out, I need more playing time or whatever, they'd be on a bus, man, because that's the way Aaron Glenn works. But Ben Johnson, it wasn't even his offense. I'm convinced of that more than I've ever been, especially after that Chicago game, because yeah, they changed some things up, but Dan Campbell is like he's the motor behind that whole thing. And I think that's the way it goes. I don't think it's just Ben Johnson, which I thought that Peter Schrager skit. You seen that skit on?
Peter Schrager, he lost me. Actually, kind of funny. He had that skit, and I quote retweeted it saying like, kind of like mocking. I tried to make it seem like I was kind of joking, but I was serious. I was like, "That's it. Like Peter Schrager's done in my book." And he actually responded saying like, I don't know. I didn't even really see the full video, but he was like, "I said some nice things in there too." But I was like, "No, the whole." I really thought the whole national media coverage on this. We'll see. Again, it's only 2 weeks in. But
Right.
assuming the Lions are a double-digit playoff team, which I fully expect them to be, all these like almost the consensus opinion by all these national shows was like, and then after week one, everyone like full on victory lapping, like at week one, whatever the phrase is, just like one game that's just already like made up in their mind. So
I mean,
I
you
don't
even
know.
have
A lot of people could look like idiots if the Lions are a good team. Because
I mean, you even had people like on local media being like, "Oh, this isn't good, guys." It's like, bro, it's 1 week. It's okay. Like they'll be fine. I mean, I thought it was funny. But we turn our page to the Baltimore Ravens game, and I mean, I could talk about this game forever because I think this game is going to be fascinating to watch. But the most interesting thing about this game, to be honest, is the fact that the Lions got their head kicked in last time they were in Baltimore. And not only did they get their head kicked in, it was kind of embarrassing the way that they lost because just like, I mean, you could tell from the quotes that came out of the locker room yesterday, well, not yesterday, but this after Sunday, St. Brown on his podcast saying we got our heads kicked in. It wasn't fun. And then the Lions' record on primetime football. I mean, this sets up for a great game. And God, I love the Baltimore Ravens black uniforms. I think they're the greatest uniforms. When they wear the all black, that's just, dude. So we got to go all white. That's my
I'm
opinion.
sure. Yeah, as soon as I saw that, we're definitely going all white.
Because you can't go, especially since you went blue pants and a white top. I mean, I'm not being a uniform person, but I'm saying like you got to change it up a little bit. But we know that the Lions come, they're totally on point on primetime games. It seems like I have not seen a primetime. When is the last primetime game that they like literally got absolutely destroyed?
I know that's a stat too that I've kind of tracked. I know their primetime record under Dan Campbell is extremely good. I want to say something like 11-2 or something like that. They lost. The losses off the top of my head. One of them was the Dallas Taylor Decker 2-point conversion thing. That was a Monday night game, I think.
But they didn't get rocked.
No, they didn't get rocked in that game. They probably should have won. And then what was the other? Actually, I think one of the losses was maybe even like year one, like Packer, like 2021 Monday Night Football in Lambeau, something like that. I think that's one of the losses. So yeah, they've largely been unbelievable in these spots.
So it opens up a great spot for them to really come to Baltimore and look. Lamar Jackson against NFC teams. I have this stat pulled up. This is insane when you think about it. 24-4, 5,590 yards, 66 completion percentage, 48 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, passer rating of 106.4. The caveat though is he was 1-3 versus NFC teams last year. So hopefully that's the case this year when you play Lamar Jackson, because I think to be honest, I think this game is going to be a high scoring game. I don't know the status of Matt Abuque. I know that
he did not practice at all today.
He did not practice?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Because that's one of the guys.
Wiggins and their cornerback Wiggins, who's a really good player for them.
Yeah, Wiggins is a good quarterback.
And then I had it just pulled up here.
I know Van Noy's out for the next.
Van Noy, yeah, that was the other big one. He didn't practice today, and I think they already said like he's out. And then Isaiah Likely was limited with a foot injury, their tight end. Those were kind of the big names. And then I guess I didn't know this, but their fullback as well, Pat Ricard.
Oh,
I guess he's like a relatively solid piece of their offense. He also didn't practice today. So they have some pretty big names on the injury report for them.
Well, the reason Patrick Ricard's a huge one is because he's an absolute massive human being. I think he's like 270, 6'3", and they use him on the goal line with Henry, or they'll use him on the goal line with Lamar Jackson. Like Lamar Jackson will sneak right behind him because he's a battering ram. That's what he is. That's all he is. But he can catch the ball in the backfield, and he's pretty explosive, to be honest. Like, Kyle Juszczyk of the 49ers?
Yeah.
Similar player to
that. Glad, okay.
Yeah.
Did you see DJ Reed got added to the injury report for the Lions?
Yeah, here's the injury report.
He was a late ad. Like it came out, and then they probably like 30 minutes after the initial one came out, they added DJ Reed with a knee injury, which typically is not great news when you get added on like that.
Well, the way it was explained to me, and I'm not an injury report aficionado or whatever, but anytime they get where they get work done, like if they get their knee checked out or something like that, they got to be added to injury report. So maybe that's the case. That was the case with Kirby last week, and he's still on there with limited practice. But I imagine they're gonna keep him on the injury report for a little bit. But That's usually what happens. So I don't know. I'll be interested to see the practice report tomorrow, Friday,
Yeah, that'll be a big one for
be-
his status for sure.
and then Saturday is usually. I think Saturday on Monday football game is the game
Yep, you're
declaration.
right. Yep.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, even like for the Ravens, if we're like looking at it from their perspective as well, like if Ricard is out tomorrow, that's interesting. Now we know Decker is going to be getting. He's going to be getting like the minimal practices that he can get. But
Yeah.
did you hear the comment that Hutch had to about El Muhammad and Marcus Davenport missing time?
Yeah. The market,
So
I mean, read it like the speculation does not seem good right now on Marcus Davenport, from what I can say.
so I
That
got
got switched to a chest injury. I think that has people thinking he re-injured his pec. I think that's like the total speculation reading between the lines thing because his injuries were listed as ankle and then I guess he came back into the game and then he was fine and then it was
yeah
shoulder was what everyone was saying. But then today then that injury report too that you just had up there, it said chest,
yeah.
which was a new that was new from today. So
Well, this is from Dave Burkett of the Free Press, and he says Marcus Davenport is listed on a Lions injury report with a chest injury. Aiden Hutchinson asked today about playing with El Muhammad. We have a really good relationship with him. Meet and with Marcus being uncertain for the future. It's going to be fun. We're going to get after it. So, wait, I know Aiden Hutchinson isn't a dumb guy by any stretch of the imagination. Okay, like him like floating that whole uncertain for the future. It leads me to believe, by every stretch of the imagination, like I don't think Hutch is saying that just because, he's got a boo boo on his chest. You know what I'm saying? Like, and the whole thing's been weird. Like even Dan Campbell talking about, well, we don't know, it's still uncertain.
right.
I mean,
To me, none of that has sound good. And I know
no,
I'm probably, probably all Lions fans with anything, especially with Marcus Davenport, you're not probably expecting positive news. And I was even like pretty positive with him. Like, no, like he's gonna stay healthy this year. Like we're gonna get like he's gonna stay healthy. And when he's out, like his sack looked good. He totally beats his guy and plants Caleb Williams, but then he just stays there and he's hurt. It's like, oh man.
Marcus Davenport is, and I don't know why, but I think the Lions put a lot of stuff into him being healthy, and if he's good, he's really good because we've seen what he does when he's healthy. He's really good. Problem is he can't stay healthy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's just the reality. But I'm gonna float this by you because I don't think anybody else has this opinion, but I kind of do. And TJ Lang on the 97 ticket, he brought this up, and I thought it was a really good point because I thought the same thing. So they went into this season with all this cap money, like a ton of cap money, right? I think they wanted to go into this year with Marcus Davenport being their defensive end. And then if they have to pivot or they think that there's a defensive end available, or if they thought Graham Glasgow wasn't going to get it done, they can go call New Orleans. And I mean, they got two guys that you can get relatively cheap because they're trying to they're trying to shore up their payroll because their payroll is a disaster. But if you could make the call like Cameron Jordan or Carl Granderson, Eric McCoy, the center, like if you needed to, that's why I think they went into all of this year with all that cap money. Now I know they're going to give Hutch an extension, but that was just my thinking. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of thoughts. One, I mean, I've been thinking about this over the last day or two. Like, they're gonna if Marcus Davenport's actually hurt and is miss, let's just speculate and say he's out for a while. I mean, there's kind of no way around it. That's not a good look for Brad Holmes. I mean, everyone kind of said they were concerned about the pass rush depth coming into the year, and even to the point where like they're only going with like 3 guys on game day, which is most teams do at least have a guy or two more than that.
Four,
So
yeah, four
yeah,
or
so
five.
they have put a lot into this. Now, I also think a big part of their plan has been, we're gonna work Hutchinson in. We're gonna work Tyleik Williams in, who we haven't talked about him, but I feel pretty good that he's going to be a good player. DJ
Oh yeah,
Reader has had a good start to the year, and then at some point you're going to get Aleem McNeil back, and that should be, that has all the potential to be a great defensive line this year, irregardless of what kind of production they get on top of it from another edge player. But it's not a good look when you could have added, they could have had other guys, and they've already had, they re-signed Levi Onwuzurike, who had all sorts of injury issues
he
during
got
his
hurt.
time here, and he immediately goes out for the year. That was going to be a guy that they were counting on to be a significant part of the rotation. Pascal starting the year hurt. Like who knows ultimately what they get out of him, because that's a guy that's always been hurt, and he is starting the year off hurt. So they're going to have to be, in my opinion, active here beyond just the waiver wire. So you could be. I did hear that segment on about TJ Lang talking. Maybe they get even Trey Hendrickson if the Bengals just totally implode. I don't know, because there's part of me that thinks they absolutely have to do that now, because now even the like Marcus Davenport is going to stay healthy thing, and we're going to be able to survive. If that is actually in jeopardy, there's almost no way around trying to add another piece. So, but my opinion on the extra cap space has always just been like they want all this they want to roll it over, because they're gonna sign all these guys. They're gonna sign so many more players than everyone thinks. That's kind of been my thought with them holding off this extra cap space. So maybe they can still find a way to do both, because they do have a ton of they're like third or fourth most right now for available cap space. So, I mean, they certainly can get a under 10, $5 to $10 million guy if there's someone out there like that.
I just feel like they have.
Should be. So there's going to be a lot of fire sales at some point.
I just feel like they put themselves in position to afford anybody, because we know that they made a They inquired about not only Myles Garrett, but they inquired about Max Crosby. We know that for sure. That was in literally reports within the media. So, and it seems like they have a certain type of player that they go after in terms of like if they're going to make the move, they want to make it. I think Zadarius is kind of like, oh shit, we kind of need this guy. Whatever.
I was gonna say, I would agree with you. Yeah,
Zadarius was kind of like let's just throw it together. And then when Zadarius did the stuff he did in the playoff game, where he was kind of like chasing Jaden Daniels upfield and not, holding his corner, I'm like, they're not going to sign this guy, especially with the quarterbacks they got on the schedule, like Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson. Like, they're not signing this guy at all. I know the Eagles signed him, but like the Eagles, you want to talk about a defense that got gutted?
Yeah,
they got gutted, and you've seen it when they played the Cowboys. Their defense was not the same. Well, they lost Jalen Carter,
yeah,
but then
they easily could have lost that game for sure, the Cowboys game.
And then everybody was bitching about how Jalen Carter didn't come to the Detroit Lions. Remember that whole draft pick fiasco? And today, you know what Vic Fangio said for the Eagles? Jalen Carter's got to get in shape.
Yeah, I mean, that guy's unbelievable. It's it's like the perfect like catch-22. Like, with how the Lions made out though, it's hard to, just on surface, I would take a player like Jalen Carter, but again, it's hard to. They came out of that draft pretty incredibly, and they just don't draft guys like that. So just it is what it is. They have their own. They have a very, like you were saying, they have a very specific, not only the physical attributes of the players they want for each certain position. They absolutely have a, this is what a Lions player looks, sounds, and acts like as a football player. And Jalen Carter, just from a attitude and leadership and intangible standpoint, the guy, no one can debate that he's not an unbelievably gifted and productive football player, but that just was going to be a thing that was never going to happen.
This is funny because you're a Tigers fan, and I know there's a lot of Tigers fans listening. When people say Marcus Davenport's going to stay healthy, doesn't it remind you of Miguel Cabrera is in the best shape of his life. Remember that? You're
That was
like,
a great, classic
get out of
narrative
here,
every
man.
September, every
Then you
spring
see Mig-
training.
then you see Miggy during their first game, and you're like, dude, this guy is not in the best shape of his life. Like, he is literally like he is one step away from having a stroke. Like that's literally how it goes. But as we get to the game against the Ravens, like I think this game, like we talked about everything before, but like I think this game right here, in my opinion, is going to be such a close, tight game because when you look at the statistics, like, do you know the two top teams are in points? Well, three of the two of the three.
Yeah, I saw that. I think there was I don't know if it was on ESPN or I saw a segment on it where they were comparing the Lions and Ravens, and yeah, it's a lot of offensively, it's a lot of ranking 1 and 2 in categories right now.
So the Ravens they're scoring 80. They scored 81 points this year. They've given up 58. That's first in the league. Number one for points for. Detroit scored 65 and gave up 48, but when they've given up 10 less points than the Ravens. But when you look at the pass blocking, like I know I'm not a big fan of the whole Pro Football Focus grades or whatever, but you got to go down the list to get to Baltimore. They're 27th right now in pass blocking, which is not something I would be. That's not something
Yeah, I
that I would.
saw that list. Someone pointed out that like almost all of the Lions opponents like don't rank well in that right now.
Yeah.
Most of the Lions opponents are kind of in the 15 to 30 range.
So if you go the Cowboys are the worst. The Rams are the 30th. The Ravens are 27th. The Commanders 26th. Here you go. Buccaneers 25th. Bengals 24th. Browns 23rd. Chicago's 19th. The Giants are 17th. Vikings are 13th. And then to get to a team that you're going to be playing, the Eagles are 10th. The Lions are 9th. The Green Bay Packers are 8th. The best pass blocking team right now per Pro Football Focus is the Broncos, which I would never, ever in a million years said the Broncos are the best pass blocking team in the NFL. But Sean Payton's he runs a good program over there.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, this game, you know what? Like, I know we were talking about it before. It's a very tough matchup for the Lions. I think it's, I would have said going into the year, I still think it's their toughest matchup in the NFL with everything that this team can do offensively with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry and a guy like Zay Flowers on the outside and defensively, hope from a line, the injury report for Baltimore right now, there's a lot of key guys on there, but if up front, a lot of big time guys. Matabuke didn't practice today. That would be a gargantuan loss for Baltimore if he's not playing. One of the best interior defensive linemen in the NFL.
Well, he's one of their best off defensive linemen. Period. He's got 10 pressures. He's got 10 pressures on the year. He's got 2 sacks. His win percentage on pass pro is like 20.3%, which is insane for a defensive tackle at his size. It just totally insane.
Yeah.
But this whole game, even on the offensive side of the ball, like for both teams, I mean, like they both have explosive plays. Like Detroit has 12, but the Baltimore Ravens have 19. I was shocked who was second in this whole explosive play thing. It's the Chicago Bears, which makes no sense because they're getting absolutely destroyed. I mean, they got destroyed last week, but even the Vikings game, like they only scored 17 points. So I don't know where these explosive plays are coming from, but it is what it is. But it's just, and then Scotty Montgomery, he talked about it today. He goes, physically, they wore us out. Physically, they beat us up. We pride ourselves on physicality, and they put it on tape, and that's what we have to live with. Physicality of this game is going to be high. So, I mean, right off the top, you hear Scotty Montgomery say something about last time they played. And, I mean, to me, the last time they played should be an eye-opening experience for this team because, in my opinion, like, look, Dan Campbell teams don't usually get out physical. That's one thing that we know. Like, when they lose, it's just they got either the Bills game, they were out talented. That's just the way it was. But the Commanders game, they gave away the turnovers and they couldn't stop Jaden Daniels. I mean, I look back at every every game that they've played and they've lost. Like even the Buccaneers game. I mean, I look at the Buccaneers game and the Packers games the same way. There's plenty of opportunities to win those games. Like
Both those were horrific red zone games for the like
yes,
as bad a red zone games as the Lions have played in this era with these coaches.
yeah, and like you look back at the Buccaneers game, like I forget who it was dropped an interception from Baker Mayfield, and it was ironically similar to the same thing that
Anzalone.
Anzalone had, where he had
Yeah,
dropped an interception.
The branch should have been a pick six. We've had 2 interceptions. We're averaging an interception overturned per game this year, all on questionable calls at best.
Yeah,
That Brian Branch pick six was an incredible play, and it got negated on a ticky tack. You can call it every play if you want, holding on, I think it was Rock Ya-Sin,
yeah,
and
Rockington,
then
yeah.
Aiden Hutchinson
Which
penalty, which was
I hate.
very soft, especially after Jared Goff got murdered
I
in
hate that
the
rule. I hate that
Washington
rule.
game
I hate that
in the
rule.
head on a similar play.
I hate that rule. The burning
Yeah,
passion. Though. That rule is so stupid, especially when you think about like quarterbacks sometimes make tackles or they push the guy out of bounds. So like, what are you
right.
gonna do? Not let them? Because the rule, the guy who was on the, I think it was Sterator, that was the guy that was the rules expert that game. He's like, oh, you can't hit the quarterback. What happens if the quarterback tries to make a tackle? Like,
Yeah.
what do you do?
I think they even like Goff. Even I was listening to an interview with Goff, and he was like, "Yeah, no, Aiden definitely that was legal. Like if he's in the play, you're allowed to like push him." Which
And
is
he was
always
running
good.
towards the play. Like,
You're right.
okay, it's like Lamar Jackson said something about he threw an interception. I think someone posted on Twitter and I forget where they got it, but he basically said like, okay, if I run towards a person, I'm gonna catch him. And it's like, yeah. And Jordan Love is not a slow quarterback, so he can catch that guy too. So I mean, you got to do what you got to do. And these quarterbacks, I mean, they're not just getting out of play; like they're gonna try to make a tackle or do something they can do. But I thought the defense last couple weeks have been playing really good, and I mean, just the opportunities that they missed, especially in the Packers game, like the interception that should have been made by Anzalone, this pick six that should have been a pick six by Branch. I mean, that could have turned the tides of the game really quickly. So I don't know what you want them to do. Like they're playing pretty well, and I mean, it's just I think a lot of people fly off the handle about every little thing, and it just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, honestly, I think that I was saying after week one, I thought that it wasn't like a banner day for the defense at all against the Packers, but they are the ones that held the Lions into that game. I mean, there was 9 minutes left, and the score was 17-6, and the Lions were like 0 for 3 in the red zone. So like they had their opportunities in that game. If they would have done any, like even if the offense had like a C+ day, they could have at least been in the like kind of more of a toss-up game in the fourth quarter. And then I mean, they really good game against in terms of turnovers, and I mean, they allow the first drive touchdown, which a lot of the kind of the scripted drives. It's you almost have to, obviously don't want that to happen, but if the rest of the game plays out where that's kind of all they did, and then even their last touchdown was one where they got negated on the Brian Branch roughing the passer, where it was like third and forever, and Caleb just similar to what his interception to Kirby Joseph was, where I don't know what he was thinking. He just lofted it into quadruple coverage, and Terry Arnold easily intercepted it, gets negated, and then they get a touchdown that drive. So I think with this defense right now, with what I see, I think unless they're getting tons of pressure, which at the early part of the season, I don't know that they were much better, at least in the second half when they kind of were more in passing situations, Chicago. But I think from like a narrative standpoint, and unless we're getting like a lot of sacks and a lot of pressure like all the time, I think there's going to be a lot of people that are just like, this defense isn't getting it done. So it just kind of is what it is. I think the biggest part of it this game is Baltimore is definitely going to move the ball, and they're going to have to be opportunistic with the red zone defense. They're going to have to at least a couple times force field goals instead of touchdowns, and then you're probably going to have to at least go even on the turnover battle, if not win it.
I think you're gonna have to win it, to be honest,
Yeah,
because
you're probably right. And then one other point I wanted to make that may give Lions fans that are, because I think the general consensus is Lions fans don't really think that they're going to win this game, and I can't really blame them. As someone that I've already said, I'll pick the Ravens in this game, even though it's one of the very few that I will pick against the Lions for the rest of the way.
right.
But watching that Browns Ravens game, the Browns essentially just completely handed it to the Ravens.
Oh, for sure.
They did a pretty good, and the only thing that maybe works against us is the Browns defense really is good. I mean, they essentially did not allow anything on the ground. I think Derrick Henry had like 11 rushes for 22 yards, and they averaged like 2.2 yards as a team or something like that.
Yep.
And the only reason the Ravens won is, and they blew them out, but I think it was a 10-point game in the fourth quarter, and that was with the Ravens had a blocked punt where they started a drive like inside the Cleveland 30. They had an interception, which they ran down inside the Cleveland 10, so that was like a 5-yard drive for a touchdown. And then they had another interception, and then they had I think the Ravens' first score of the game, there was was set up by like a 30 or 40-yard punt return that they had. So if the Browns didn't turn the ball over, it at least would have been basically a one score. Like they probably would have lost, but it would have been like 17-24 or something, not 17-41. I mean, the Ravens had 2 touchdown drives where they got like 30 yards total. So if the Lions can, that's why I was just saying, if they can taking care of the ball, I think is a must. Like you just can't turn the ball over, and you're probably right. They probably do need a turnover or two, but they definitely need to take care of the ball. And the special teams probably needs to make a difference too.
I look at this game and both of them are +1 in turnover differential. You want to know what's interesting though? As we were talking, the odds have gone down for the Detroit Lions.
What is it now?
So they were a 5.5 point favorite just a day ago. They were a 6.5. They were a 6.5 point underdog at the beginning of the week. It's a 4.5 point spread now.
Okay.
So that's very, very interesting. But
maybe that implies that at least a couple or most of those key, like Wiggins, Matabuke.
Yeah.
I mean, if both those guys don't play, that's pretty significant.
Well, if Matabuke don't play, he's their leading pass rusher. So that sucks, especially for them. And the interesting thing about Ricard being out is if he's out, he can't give any help to a guy like Ronnie Stanley, who has absolutely struggled this season at the right, I think he's at the left tackle position. He is at the left tackle position. He's given 5 pressures and 2 sacks. So if it's Al-Quadin Muhammad on Ronnie Stanley, he can probably eat off him. But the guy on the other side of him, Roger Rosegarden, he's given up 0 pressures this year. I mean, he's absolutely just tearing it apart. I mean, he's got a 76.7 Pro Football Focus grade. He hasn't given a sack or hit or hurry or a pressure. His efficiency is 100%, and he's absolutely just tearing it up. And you look at the middle of the line too, like how we talk about the middle of our line. Well, like you would have thought, like having a guy like Tyler Linderbaum would be great for them. You know what I'm saying? But Tyler Linderbaum's been ass this year. Like he was one of the centers that you would thought, like with Frank retiring and Kels retiring, you thought, oh, it's Linderbaum, it's this guy, Creed Humphrey, and then Cam Jurgens maybe of Eagles, but no, it's not. It's he's been absolutely brutal. His Pro Football Focus grade is 27.6, which is one of the
Ed Oliver had a massive. He has gone up against some pretty good players this year. With Ed Oliver, I think dominated in that game, and then the Browns' defensive line is really good.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, if you can, that's why having Aleem McNeil, if they can get Ali McNeil back at the end of the year. And even some, I don't know if you saw Justin Rogers' reports today on Ali McNeil. There's a
Yeah.
lot of encouraging stuff in there.
Yep.
But that interior pressure up the middle, and I know Dan Campbell always talks about that. Like, you can get pressure up the middle. It's just such a game changer across the board. Um, Another point I guess along those lines is you did see in this last game against the Bears, um, the impact that you can have with all the attention to Aiden Hutchinson, because uh, Al Qadim Muhammad is, in the reps that he's played so far, has done very, very well. And there's a couple of these plays where the one of the Tyleek Williams bat downs, I think it was the fourth down one,
Yeah.
where Jonah Jackson, who was lined up against them, basically just mid snap like panicked and went to double team Hutchinson, and just kind of like instinctually. And Tyleek Williams was able to get around him pretty easily and got his hand up. So hopefully that's like Aiden Hutchinson, man. Like, I was even looking up this the other day, like, just as how good. I think I forgot like how good Aiden Hutchinson is, because like before he got hurt last year, I mean, he was just getting like 10 pressures a game basically. Like, it was like ridiculous. And I remember thinking back to, like, even how many weeks after he was hurt, he's still like ranked like number one in a lot of stats. So each week that goes by, I'm thinking like, man, Aiden Hutchinson's going to have like a 2 or 3 sack game, and that's just going to open up everything else. And it would be great if it was this week, if they could shut down Lamar Jackson, which is going to be tough. Maybe it's just you gotta do good in the red zone. You got to contain them. You got to somehow find a way to get a turnover. But that starts with the pressure up front. And I know, regardless of what happens right now in this fan base, we're going to be talking about the defensive line and what they do on a week-to-week basis.
So between Jack Campbell and Alexander Zaloni, they are tied for 10th among all linebackers with 6 run stops. That's that's tops in the NFL right now. So if there's 2 linebackers that you want right now, it's Anzalone and Jack Campbell. And going up against Henry, and I mean, they have Keaton Mitchell and Justice Hill that could really do some damage too. But Lamar could do some damage as well. So I mean, having those guys is key. But I really like Al Qadim Muhammad. I thought he should have got a little bit of more of a run. To be honest, I thought just the way that he does, he's good in pass pro. I mean, not pass protection, pass rush. His pass rush grade is the best on the team right now. He's got the most pressures. Well, he's got 4, and he's got 30 less snaps than Hutchinson, but his win percentage is 28%. So, I mean, gotta like that for sure.
One thing too, I gotta point this out, because I know on this show I've hyped him up big time. Brian Branch looking pretty incredible 2 weeks into the season, and I think he has a massive chip on his shoulder. I know he was pretty irritated by not even being listed in the NFL top 100 before the season. He's been as good as anyone on the defensive side of the ball in the NFL through the first couple of weeks, especially when you factor in he's pretty unlucky not to have a interception, a touchdown to his name as well against Green Bay. But this guy is just unbelievable. He makes plays at all 3 levels. He's going to get sacks, tackles for loss. He's going to get 100+ tackles on the season. He's great in coverage. He's always around the ball. And for a guy that his big knock basically was he's not like super, he's not super athletic, and he's not a physically, big physical, huge guy. I don't know that there's many people that fly to the ball as fast as Brian Branch. I mean, the play he made the other day on DeAndre Swift to force the fumble, and that was basically his knock. Like, he's not athletic. He didn't run a good 40-yard dash or whatever. Like, this guy is incredible. And does he have a defensive player in the year in him, as I predicted? Maybe not, but he might. He's really good. Like, it's incredible watching him out there.
Well, I'll bring you one closer because you've been really on Brian Branch, and I think a lot of people have, but you especially like you called this from the get go, and someone gave me this comp to Brian Branch, and I'm gonna throw it by you, but Brian Dawkins, because of the way he changes the game, because you can use him in so many different facets of the game. Pass rush, he gets sack. He can make interceptions. He's good against the pass. Like he does everything. He's that X factor that like when you play the Detroit Lions, like there's two things you got to watch out for well, three things actually. And when McNeil comes back, that's fourth thing. So that's great to have. But you got to watch out for Hutch. That's number one. Number two, you got to watch out for Kirby Joseph and throws that you make over the middle of the field. That's two. Three, you got to watch out for Brian Branch. Like if he's wherever he's around the ball, like wherever he's around the offensive line, or whether it's he's in the slot, whatever the case may be, he's going to be a problem. And I think teams are starting to, well, if they haven't realized it now, they're pretty stupid. But Brian Branch is phenomenal. I've
Yeah, I mean,
ever since she came out of college and Nick Saban said he was the smartest player that he's ever coached, like Nick Saban's coached some pretty smart
yeah,
players, so that's pretty high praise right there.
yeah. I mean, I can't say enough good things about the guy. I think he's clearly like there's no questions asked. He needs to be, and I'm sure Brad Holmes agrees, but he needs to be retained and extended. Um, I mean, having him on the field is because the thing about him too is at least with Hutchinson, like how do you stop or how do you at least attempt to stop a dominant edge rusher? You always have a tight end chipping them, and you double team them on top of it, or you always have chip them. You have a running back there in case he gets by that in your tackle. Like there's at least options that you have for to try to contain a defensive edge rusher. But for a player like Brian Branch, where he can line up literally anywhere on the field, and he can be at all three levels on any given play and within a play. It's like you can't even really. And then even when he's not anywhere close to the play, he can fly in and blow up DeAndre Swift for a fumble. Like I don't know how you game plan for Brian Branch. You just have to hope he kind of has an off day and doesn't isn't reading things well back there, or they just do a good job of accounting for him throughout the flow of the game. But he's just someone that I don't think really you can even similar to Kyle Hamilton, but I think I'll take Brian Branch over Kyle Hamilton, even though Hamilton's phenomenal. I don't know how you really prepare for guys like that.
Well, I thought it was very, very interesting because I was listening to a podcast. I forget who it was. I think it was one of the Pro Football Focus former guys, like Sam and whatever. But they were talking about if you were to play Lamar Jackson and make Brian Branch the spy, because he could literally play the spy. And right now, if you looked at in Pro Football Focus, he's got 7 run play tackles in 2 games. He's got 5 stops. Campbell, Barnes, and Anzalone have 3, 3, and 4. Anzalone has 4. But like he has a forced fumble. He's a mismatch. I mean, who's gonna really he can come in from the slot and just like, blitz.
Right. Yeah,
blitz
he can
Lamar
line up
Jackson.
on the slot, and you think, okay, he's going to be guarding this tight end because he has the versatility to do that. And then all of a sudden, they use him as a pass rusher all the time. So he just.
And I'm not the biggest fan of Ryan Clark, but Ryan Clark said something actually pretty smart, to be honest. Usually nowadays he's about talking junk to people and all that stuff. But when he gets football talk, he's really good. But he said if he was playing, because he remembers when he was playing against the Baltimore Ravens as a Steeler, Troy Polamalu would follow who I forget the running quarterback he was talking about, but he was saying he would follow him. And basically he would keep him in the backfield and make him throw. And I think there's a lot of things you can learn from Spagnuolo, what he does to Lamar Jackson. Because if there's any kind of scheme that you should really adopt if you're a Shep, it's what Spagnuolo does of the Chiefs. And it's what don't do what the Bills did, because they allowed him to go crazy. Well, they allowed Derrick Henry to go crazy, but It just these are two of the best teams in tackling too. That's the crazy part. Like both these teams, they tackle. They're really well. They're really well
Yeah.
packed.
Yeah, it's and I've kind of thought about what's like, you mentioned that Bills Ravens game. That was just like a crazy shootout where just like every team just wanted to like go go go. I almost wonder, and the Lions they tried to play that game with like the Bills last year, and it didn't quite work out. I almost feel like they need like really long drives. The Lions like they need to possess the ball and they need to have like a 9 minute touchdown drive, uh, because I don't like. I think getting into a game where you at least somewhat can limit the possessions, because I don't think we really want to just get into a full on track meet with a team like this. If we can, like I said, limit the possessions a little bit, take advantage of our opportunities in the red zone and limit theirs. Um, and even if you get, they have a couple of long possessions, if you can limit the big plays to the point where they're not touchdowns, have their drives be, the massive like 80-yard touchdown runs that they can rip off with Derrick Henry, or a big play with Lamar where you think you get him sacked and then he just floats one out to a wide open Flowers for a touchdown. It's a dangerous game trying to go score for this team. So if they can, and they're built to do it as good as anyone. They did it. It really was the formula that would have had to play out for them to beat the Packers. They went on the sustained drives. They just came up empty in the red zone. But if they would have converted on a couple of those, they would have been right there.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's interesting because like the way that Baltimore runs the ball is you'll find this fast. I find this fascinating to be honest. But they run the ball up the middle left and middle right. Like that's where they get the most yardage, which is obvious. And Detroit they could really tackle that with Tyreek Williams and DJ Reader. I mean, DJ Reader um, played against Baltimore for years. So I mean, if there's any player that knows about how to stop Baltimore, it's him, because the Bengals have had some really really good back and forth with him. But I don't know, man. I think Tyreek Williams, I think he's going to really turn it on as coming on, especially in the run game. But I think that the run game, I'm worried about Lamar Jackson getting out and about. But I'm not really worried about Derrick Henry getting absolutely torching the Lions like he did the Bills, you know?
Yeah. And you mentioned DJ Reader. That's another point I would make. I feel like he's one of the most very underrated guys on this team. I think when the Lions signed him, he was a big name, but I think there's so many people that are just like, oh, defensive linemen, we need him to get all these sacks. Like DJ Reader is as good as what he does in the game as far as being a nose tackle and taking on double teams and not getting pushed back, and allowing opportunities for the guys that play next to him, Tyreek Williams and Aiden Hutchinson. Um, and from all accounts, he's one of the biggest leaders on the team. I just think that's a guy that doesn't get that much respect as
No.
much as he should, because he's really, I think he's been a great addition to this team, and he's especially from a guy that we signed him coming off a pretty significant quad injury. He missed the first game or two or whatever it was when we got him last year, but he's stayed on the field for all the injuries that we've had. He plays kind of a thankless position, so and I think he's done a really good job at it. So it's been a big positive, I think, for this team.
I think DJ Reader is one of the most important Detroit Lions, especially with the way that he not only just his leadership, but the way that he plays the game. I think that he's going to be a big help, especially for Tyreek Williams and his development. And it was interesting that someone said this. I forget who it was, but I think it was TJ Lang on someone or he might have been on X. But he says, imagine when you get you get Ellie McNeil back, you could realistically put Ellie McNeil on the edge, Tyreek and DJ Reader up the middle. Yeah, have fun. Who are you going to double team and who are you going to leave single team? Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I think that's very interesting. Now, one part of the Lions that we haven't talked about yet is unfortunately the secondary. I know for me, my point about the secondary is this. So this is their breakdown in coverages. They haven't done cover zero at any point in time this year. Their cover one is 35%, cover two, 10%, cover four, 13%, cover three is 32%, and cover six is 3% of the time. And if you look at the disparity between zone coverage and man coverage, I mean, I think, to be honest, I think some of this is um, they just need to get on par with communication, especially with DJ Reed coming in the fold. And I look at guys like, I know Terrion Arnold takes the brunt of all the jokes and everything about what he does and everything. But dude, I mean, Terrion Arnold is 66.7 reception percentage. That's third best on the team. I mean, the guys that I worry about in terms of pass coverage DJ Reed hasn't been good this year. He's at 87.5. He just makes good tackles on the field. But I mean, I look at a guy like Jack Campbell, 11 targets, 8 receptions. I mean, that's not good. But I feel like Terrion Arnold's been a subject of all the internet scrutiny, and I think he's been a lot better than people give him credit for. Now, I know he does lead the Lions and the NFL in yards given up, but he's been
Yeah, I
targeted
mean, he gave up like a full field's worth on those 2 plays against Green Bay. That's kind of what's hurting all of his grades right now. Yeah, it's still way too honestly, and I always think back of Darius Slay's development here,
Mhm.
and I even think I think Terry and Arnold's rookie season's largely misunderstood. I think he actually had a good rookie year.
Right.
But yeah, it's just I feel good still about him as a developing corner, especially with what the Lions coaches think of him and have said of him. But it's a position that I understand because it's a frustrating position as a fan when really any time you give up like a big pass play and you see it whatever corner it is, you're like, oh, whoever got torched. It's similar to what I was talking about with the defensive line up the middle. It's kind of a thankless position. You only really hear of guys when they're allowing stuff if they have great coverage on a play and they get it, incomplete pass or they throw it the other way. It's not really something that gets, you don't really see that on the broadcast or anything. So, and it's still way too early anyway. Still a very young player. I'm excited to see his development because I think there's a lot of reason still to believe in Terrion Arnold.
Yeah, I don't think Terrion Arnold's got. He got targeted 15 times in 2 games. So I mean, that just tells you what it is. But Kirby Joseph, I mean, for all we talk about Brian Branch, and we talked about Brian Branch before, Kirby Joseph is phenomenal, especially in the pass game. This guy is unbelievable. Do you realize that he's only been targeted 3 times? 3 times through this year. He's allowed 1 reception for 33 yards. I mean, not 33 yards, for a yard. The guy does not give up anything when he's getting passed upon. And I just think that he's one of those safeties that you go back to and you talk about like, oh, they're a ball hawk. Guy's a true ball hawk.
Oh, absolutely. He's the
I love
definition of a ball hawk. Yeah, Kirby Joseph.
One of the best safeties, I think, in the NFL in terms of the way he covers and all that jazz. So it'll be interesting. But one thing we didn't talk about, and we'll talk about this next, but the pass blocking. Like, how people are worried about Graham Glasgow. So he's got a 60. He's got the third best pass blocking grade on the team. The 2 worst on the starting offensive line is Mahogany and Ratledge, but they're young players. Like, they're gonna get used to it and they're gonna get better. But I feel a lot better about this offensive line, in my opinion. I know you were worried about Graham Glasgow coming into the year. I think everybody was. And I was kind of giving the benefit of the doubt, like, okay, he's gonna get away from that left guard position. He's gonna move to center, which he traditionally has known. And first game was not good by any stretch of imagination. but the second game was pretty good. And I know it's still a little too early to talk about what he's doing, but I think this team is they're better than people give them credit for on the pass blocking situation. I think they're better at run blocking too. So, well, they're not good run blocking yet because I mean it hasn't been a good start to the year for the run blocking for sure.
Yeah, I think the offensive line, it's definitely going to have some ups and downs this year. You have two really young players in Christian Mahogany and Tate Ratledge. Um, but I always said going into this year, even if the offensive like it might start slow and all that, but I didn't see like some really uh, like I didn't think this was going to be in any way a bad offensive line. I thought it was very likely with losing Frank Ragnow and not bringing back Kevin Zeitler, who I advocated to bring back. I thought losing those two guys, there would definitely be a step back just in general, but it wasn't a unit that I looked at. I'm like Penei Sewell, a veteran, reliable guy like Taylor Decker, and then even if I wasn't high on Graham Glasgow, two guard players that have an incredibly high potential in Tate Ratledge and Christian Mahogany. Like this is a very talented offensive line at minimum that just is going to need reps together to improve. Um, but I still think from a projection standpoint, I still think that my thought coming into the year was correct. And even if there's struggles, which there will be, I still think overall this is a top 10 offensive line for sure, and probably even better than that from a pass pro standpoint, as you were mentioning. I mean, because even the Packers game, at least from the like the analytic of how much time Jared Goff had to throw,
Yep.
it was more, and even the sacks and stuff that they got late, like the Micah Parsons sack was a total nothing burger. It was like a 3-score game already with like 2 minutes left, and Jared Goff could have like thrown that away, honestly, if he really wanted to. But
Yeah.
like they pass protected fine against Green Bay. It was more Green Bay's coverage was great. They didn't give them anything down the field, and they kept everything in front of them. And ultimately, they did get enough pressure to get the ball out somewhat quick. But yeah, the pass pro really. I mean, Jared Goff completed over 30 passes against the Packers, so the pass protection's probably been better than what most people expected, and the run game was definitely ugly, really ugly week one. And I think week two, John Morton probably did a pretty good job of scheming up their runs because they still, Jahmyr Gibbs averaged like 8-9 yards per carry. Montgomery was 5 or 6 yards per carry. But a lot of that was pretty well designed stuff. They are still kind of struggling on just like basic runs up the middle that they've had success, like simple zone runs. That the line, I think they tried to run quite a bit against Green Bay, and they just all basically got blown up for one reason or the other.
Yep. Yeah, I look at this game and I look at this game and I just like oh, first of all, I want to get to this. This is something that you brought this up, and this was a great point by you. So Taron Arnold, this is insane. He's given 142 air yards. Okay, so 142 air yards. He's given up where is it? 34 yards after the catch. So if you just think about it, most of those plays that he's getting beat down deep or he's getting beat for yards, they're all air yards. Like literally all of them are air yards.
Yeah,
I mean,
I wonder, like, of the 142, I guess if they only give them credit because the Green Bay drive, the one where Jaden Reed got like the touchdown on the pick, there was that play which was against. I'm pretty sure they would have counted that against him. That was like a 20, 30-yard touchdown, and then the play right before that to Romeo Dobbs was like a 40 to 50-yard play, and I think that was Terry and Arnold.
yep.
So I mean, it's almost a lot of that yardage is and Calvin Shepard. I don't know if you heard him talk after his press conference after the Packers game. I thought did a really good job where he
You want me to
laid
play it?
out like if you take out
You want me to
like
play it?
what's sure, yeah. I
Good.
thought it was
I just want to open up with starting with obviously addressing week one against Green Bay. Obviously, we left Lambeau with a loss on the wrong side of the day there, but I really want to dive into the game real briefly and just put everything out there as far as how I saw it. So coming off the field, you guys know ultra competitive nature of the game. My temperament and things, I was pissed, and I'm ready to scald everybody. But then you sit back and look at it, and after the second time and after the third time, you go, there's a lot of good football on this tape. We played 47 snaps defensively, and they had 188 passing yards, 78 rushing. So if you look at an NFL game and you tell me the Green Bay Packers are going to have 188 passing yards and 78 rushing, did you play a winning brand of football? I would tell you yes, but then you have to look deeper into that. So what happened? Why did we give up 27 points? And it's a lot of things that go into that, a lot of different variables that go into that. But let's start with the pass game, 188 yards. Well, I believe it was play 18, 19 of the game. We had back-to-back plays where we allowed a 48-yard explosive pass and a 17-yard explosive touchdown pass that we went into the game saying, you got to make these guys beat us. You cannot give them things because that's when they thrive. You have to make them beat us, and we did not do that on back-to-back plays. Inexcusable, and that's been addressed. So you take, what is that, 48-17? I'm not a math major, but I believe that's 65 yards. You take that off of 180, you're looking at 120 yards passing on the day. Let's go into the run game. We held them to 3.1 rushing. That's a good day in the NFL against a back like that. It's a good day. But we should have been dominant in the run game. We should have been at 2.2. Why do I say that? Because one of those was a 15-yard explosive run that should have never happened. That's been addressed as well. So when you go in the day, it's a lot of good to take for it. So 47 plays, I just gave you 3. Where you 2.2 in the run game and 120 yards passing. That's who we are. And that's who I expect us to be, and that's who we will be. And it's non-negotiable. And all this stuff.
So right there, you just see it. I love that video. Like, I think it's just fascinating to let him just the way he talks about football and how passionate he is. He's going to be a head coach. There's no
I
doubt.
agree. I totally agree. Yeah. Yeah, I'm really pulling for that guy because anytime I've listened to him talk, I like take something away from it from like, oh wow, like he just taught me something about the game of football. And then also you just have to know that his team, like his guys, like absolutely love playing for him. It feels like Aaron Glenn is the coach still. Like, I mean, you can tell that they spent multiple years, Aaron Glenn, like directly preparing him for this position. And just the way he talks about the game, his passion for it, the way it's very apparent his guys would go to war for him. So pretty excited to have a guy like that in the building in Allen Park.
And I think the rushing game is going to get better because if you look at yards per contact per attempt, the Lions are third in the league at 3.3. So eventually that's going to open up and they're going to be able to do it. What I do want to say to kind of close this thing out is this is going to be probably the most important part of the podcast is when you look at two of these guys, these two teams that you're playing this weekend, that are playing Monday, I mean, not this weekend. These guys get a ton of time to throw. Like a ton of time to throw. Jared Goff and Lamar Jackson, they both get like 3, almost 4 seconds to pass at every given time. I think the only teams that are better is Buffalo, surprisingly Chicago, and Caleb Williams does nothing to do with it. Jalen Hurts, he gets 3.7 per time to throw. And Kyler Murray is at a whole different level. Arizona's wild. He gets 4.59 seconds per pass.
So for that stat, is it like if a quarterback like scrambles around forever, that's like factored into it, right?
No.
Oh, it's not. Okay.
I believe it's not factored into
Okay.
it. Let me just.
I've always kind of wondered that because it almost like that would like make like the Lions stat like stand out further because it's not like Jared Goff is like for the most part doing any of that. It's just all that time is purely just they're giving him a
You know
pocket
what?
to throw the
You might
ball.
be right. I don't know how I have to dig deeper in this stat. We'll have
Because
to
with the teams that you're naming, it's like that adds up. Like it's all of like Jalen Hurts, like Caleb Williams has had like 5 or 6 incredible. He escaped the pocket where all 5 of his offensive linemen got beat, and he made a play out of it. Say like Josh Allen does that better than anyone in the
Okay,
NFL.
so on the next column over, Kyler Murray's had 6 scrambles, Josh Allen 5 scrambles, 7 scrambles for Caleb Williams, 2 for Lamar Jackson, which is odd because he usually has more at this time. 4 for Jalen Hurts, 0 for Jared Goff. Cam Ward has 2. The two Flacco, Goff, Rodgers, Stafford, Tua, and Sam Darnold are the ones with 0. And Dak Prescott and CJ Stroud surprisingly have 1 and 2. So there you go. There's your stat of the day. But I mean, when we look at this game, man, I'm excited for it, but at the same time, like I know going into Baltimore's a hard place to play, man. So
Yeah, this is a beast of a game. This is one that if the Lions, like, let's paint the positive here. If the Lions win this game, I think this like immediately changes like everyone. Like everyone would freak out if the Lions win this game. Like for the next week, everyone locally, nationally would be like like wow, the Lions are totally for real. Like they're back up to whatever, how high you want to rank them, whatever. Like this would be a season changing from a projection standpoint win. And I pointed it out. I tweeted this out either yesterday or the day before that I think you can make a very easy case that this would be the best like most impressive, best, whatever phrase you want to put, win in the regular season under Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes. Because I don't think there's like anyone that really thinks the Lions are going to win this game.
no.
So if they come out here and basically, obviously you would have rather of them beaten Green Bay over Baltimore from just the division and all that. But from an on-track standpoint, like I don't know. I think a lot of people, almost everyone probably has this as a loss. So this would be quite a big win from changing. Not that changing the narrative matters, but this is probably worth whatever projection you personally have the Lions at. If they won this game, I think you should probably bump it up another win if they win this game.
My feeling is if they just go in there and they play a tough game and it's like basically like back and forth type game, I'll give them credit for that. Going to Baltimore is tough. Going to Baltimore and beating Lamar Jackson as an NFC team is tough. Detroit only won against Baltimore once in their whole entire existence since Baltimore was like a fairly new franchise. But this game could be the start of this could be a Dan Campbell type game where he kind of rah-rahs the team up, and this is the way it's going to go. Like the Kansas City Chiefs game, like I don't think anybody gave the Detroit Lions a chance to win in KC. I think even Lions fans, if you go back to that time, said
I totally agree.
There's no way we're going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs on their Super Bowl ring night where they're going to get the ring and they're going to put up the banner and all that jazz. You go in there and you shock them. I mean, that's what you got. That's the type of game you got to play. And I think when Dan Campbell plays primetime games, I think that really pushes his moxie up. I think he's one of the best primetime coaches in football right now. That's my opinion. I think there's only 2 that are remotely close. Like Tomlin in primetime is really good. And then Sean McDermott, I think he's only lost twice in primetime, which is insane.
Yeah, this team in general seems to, and the players openly talk about it. They love these games, and I'm sure everything about this team is like, we're going on the road Monday Night Football against a team that no one is giving a chance for us to beat. We lost to Green Bay. We kind of got our butts handed to us against Green Bay. We can't go out there against another big time team and lay an egg. So I mean, this team should be unbelievably motivated and want to put up a good showing in this game. And I would agree with what you said. I mean, if ultimately they don't win, but it's a pretty good showing in terms of they showed up. maybe if a thing or two would have went the other way, they could have won. You probably come away feeling pretty good about it. And I don't think we've brought it up on this show yet, but after the Ravens game, I think their schedule lines up pretty favorably for the Lions, in my opinion. I mean, they're playing probably the easiest game they have on the road against against the Browns. And then you're playing, a couple games there with Joe Burrow, who we thought we were going to play, he gets hurt, unfortunately. But that was a game the Lions were even favored in, at least at the start of the year. I think they were projected to be a 1 or 2 point favorite in that Baltimore game. Kansas City has not looked good at all. That's a spot that, matchup wise, I like the Lions in that game. I think they match up favorably with Kansas City. You have to have a lot of respect for Baker Mayfield and Tampa Bay. But Monday night at Ford Field, I think ultimately the Lions are the better football team. Tampa Bay has been ravaged with injuries on both sides of the ball already in the trenches. And then you're going to get either Carson Wentz or J.J. McCarthy at Ford Field with the Lions coming off a bye. And then, a revenge spot against a Washington team I also think you're better than. So, I mean, that stretch right there is 6 games. I mean, I'm sure they're not going to go 6-0 because that would really be, even with how I laid that out there, that would be quite impressive if they did that. But I'll pick them to win all 6. From a week to week standpoint, like I'm going to go into all 6 of those games thinking the Lions are going to win. So, regardless of kind of what happens in this game, I like where this team is at, and if they can, to our point here, if they can go out and play well in this game. Probably more to that point of it's probably the caliber of team we thought they were if they can go toe-to-toe with this Ravens team.
Yeah, I just think that when you look at the Baltimore Ravens, especially this week, I think this is a game where if you win this, you could be set up for a really good stretch. As we said, I think we were talking before the podcast, the Buccaneers are losing players left and right, okay? Chiefs have not looked good. J.J. McCarthy has the worst on-target percentage in the NFL. Burrow is out for he's out for the year. He's not out for the year, but he's out for 3 months. So put that in perspective. The Browns are the Browns. They got a good defense, but that offense does not strike fear into anyone. And then you look at, going to Washington, going to the Philadelphia, that could be a tough part of the schedule. But then you look at the back half of the schedule, and you got the Giants, Packers at home on Thanksgiving, Dallas, LA, got to go to LA, play Steelers, play the Vikings, play the Bears. I mean, this schedule, as brutal as it looked when we first got it, because that's why I put up those quarterbacks that you would play: Mahomes, Burrow, Mayfield, Hurts, Daniels, Lamar Jackson, and obviously the run backs that you're going to play. You've already played 2. You're going to play one of them. You're going to play in the second one, but this is a good chance to get where you're going to be. And if you can beat the Ravens, I mean, that opens up a really, it's a really good spot for you to be in personally, because I don't think they're going to beat the Ravens. I wouldn't pick them to beat the Ravens, but I know that they're going to be ready to go. And I don't put money on the Ravens winning outright, because Dan Campbell always has his team ready to go, and especially in prime time. So, I mean, like I said, the schedule, as brutal as it looked, like we both talked about it earlier in the podcast. Well, we were off. I think we were off. We weren't even started the podcast, but everything that we looked at the beginning of the schedule, week to week, it's changing rapidly. Like, I mean, if you look at the fact of the matter is, like, what if Jaden Daniels is still hurt when we play the Commanders? You know what I'm saying? Like, those are the type of things that could work itself out, and we'll figure where it is. But like last year, like, I mean, I'm sure the Bills were lucky to get us at that time. I'm sure that they were thinking like, oh, we got to go to Detroit. But then seeing all the injuries we had on defense, they're like, sweet, we're going to win this game outright. So it's going to be interesting. So,
yeah. And a couple things too that I think that I wanted to point out with the schedule that work out in the Lions' favor is, that Vikings game where getting JJ McCarthy. I thought before the schedule came out, I was like, we could get the Vikings like early. That could really be good because I didn't think JJ McCarthy was going to be ready. Now with how it works out, it kind of looks like he's going to miss the next 4 weeks for them. So, I mean, you're getting experience-wise, he's only going to have 3 or 4 games at most under his belt. So even playing him week 9, and the Lions are going to be coming off a bye, I think that's a pretty good spot for them. And then the other thing, too, is not that the Lions have a super late bye, but, having we're week 8 or week 9 bye, I think, for the Lions.
Yeah.
Week 8 bye.
Yep.
And then the other teams in our division have like the earliest buys in the league. I think the Packers and the Bears both have week 5 buys, and then I think the Vikings are week 6. So playing those Vikings and Bears teams week 7, week 17, and week 18, they're going to be going on it's going to be like us, where we had the bye week, after our first 4 games. So we had a week 5 and then nothing the rest of the game. So the Bears and Vikings in those week 17 and 18 games are going to be on a 12, 13 plus game in a row stretch. So, I think you're right in that. And I pointed that out too. I thought the schedule was the thing I was kind of fearing the most, and not that it's an easy schedule by any means, but there are some things that I think are working out with, you're going to avoid Joe Burrow. The Vikings and Bears don't look as good as a lot of people projected them to be. There's a couple of these teams like the Chiefs and the Commanders where maybe they're not as amazing as as a lot of people thought. So it's going to be definitely an interesting stretch here Monday night and then the next several weeks after that.
And if you win, it sets you up for great times. And if you lose, I mean, depending on how you lose and what happens during the game, I mean, you're still in a good spot. So I think that this game right here could be a game changer in terms of the season, but it can't wreck your season, in my opinion. I think.
Yeah, I would agree. That's why the game last week, as much as it looks like a given now that you won by 30 plus points, but that was really the one where you couldn't go 0-2. You couldn't go 0-2 in the division. They looked good and won doing it. Week 2, especially right when the schedule came out, I remember thinking, even a worst case scenario, you have a very good chance to be 2-2 and have found a lot more about yourself over those first 4 weeks. Worked in some of the young guys on the offensive line over the first month. Same with Tyreek Williams, and just in general, you're learning more about what you're going to be. So if a worst case scenario is 2-2 after the first 4 weeks, I don't think that's bad. And but it's, as we talked about, you have how good would everyone be feeling if they pull out the win against Baltimore? I mean, it would feel quite good. So. There's no reason to go into this game with anything other than give them your best shot and, feel like you can go out here and win this game, because I'm sure everyone in the locker room feels that way.
And I originally thought they would go 3-3 during the stretch. Now that with Burrow out, that changes everything. But you also got to think about it like this. Justin Rogers says week 9, Lee McNeil could be back. So think of that as like a trade deadline acquisition right there. So everything is set up for you in the back half of the schedule. If you can do damage in the front half of the schedule, that could set you up for even more success with getting McNeil back and getting, maybe you get a trade for an edge rusher or something along those lines. There's many things that could happen during a stretch, but this stretch right here, if you capitalize at the right time with the players that are out like Burrow, Kalaja Kancey for the Buccaneers. They got half their offensive line out. This could be like a huge momentum swinging because, I predicted them to win 12 games. If they swept the board, I mean, you got to up it a little bit. But this back end of the schedule, as daunting as it looked with the Eagles and Commanders, we don't know what the Commanders are going to be like when we play them. because Jaden Daniels is banged up right now. So, and they got the oldest team in the NFL. I'll keep reiterating that, the oldest team in the NFL. Like, how do you last that long? Like, Detroit's like not one of the oldest teams in the NFL, and they had the injury history of like
There's
biblical
another team,
proportions.
Washington, that's been beat up a little bit. They've lost some key pieces already.
So it's going to be interesting to see how this whole thing goes. But I mean, me and James are not expecting the Lions to win, but we don't count them out. I don't think that's the case. But
yeah, no doubt. Play a clean game. Like, put your best foot forward. Like Dan Campbell, that was probably one of the big takeaways I had from, I think it was today. Like, they didn't even give them, like, after the first quarter in 2023, this game was over. I think it was 21-0, or if it wasn't, it was 14-0 with the ball at the 1 to start the next quarter. They didn't give themselves a chance in this game. Go out, put your best foot forward. Don't turn the ball over. And let's see what we can do. Like, let's go out there and play a good game. I think there's some people, I think, that are still underestimating what this team can be capable of against any team in the league. If the Lions play an A game, like, I would expect them to win, honestly. So put your best foot forward and let's see what happens.
Like I said, when the schedule came out, this is going to be the toughest game. And if you can win this game, it could really translate into some beautiful things. So thanks, James, for coming on. You'll be coming on again, obviously. I hopefully you can come next week. You got any schedule on Thursday or something?
Yeah, I'm sure we can do it next week for sure.
All right, cool. All right, James will be back on for Thursday. You can come on whenever you want. Just let me know. And then we'll see you guys in the next podcast. We talk more Detroit Lions football here on the Detroit Lions News podcast. As always, you go to Apple, Spotify, iHeart, wherever you get your podcasts. There's like a million different podcast platforms. I don't know. It's on there. So just go there. It's on YouTube. You can go there too. We will see you in the next podcast, and hopefully after our Lions win.